Thanks, Hugh. If we can go to the next slide, or if we have the little... is it up here? Ah, great. Thanks. So a year ago, we came together and we really united because of this number. A factor of 1,000 improvement in energy efficiency. A year ago, that was unheard of. Because prior to that, we were talking about numbers of 2 or 3 or 5 in research labs around the world. And then, of course, came this factor of 1,000. And since that time, since this year has gone by, I've received many, many inquiries, many questions regarding, so how is GreenTouch doing? Where is GreenTouch today? What is some of the central elements of GreenTouch? And the good news is, and why we came together today, is to talk about GreenTouch today is much more than just this number. Remember, if you think back about it, the energy required to power the network is increasing exponentially. And the reason for that is because of smartphones, video, 3D video, and television, all of these things. Every time we send an email or send a bit across the network, it takes energy to do that. And this is one of the slides I showed last year. At that time, 2009, 2010, the network emitted about 300 million tons of carbon dioxide. That's equivalent to about 50 million automobiles or more, or the equivalent of all the automobiles on the road inside the United States today. Now, having shown that graph last year, I can say that beyond a shadow of a doubt, this year, today, the network consumes more energy than it did last year. Even with the tremendous amount of work going on in research facilities around the globe, this exponential increase in data is growing faster than the percent reductions year over year in terms of energy. So not only is this graph still relevant, but it shows us and gives an indication that the problem today is even more relevant than it was last year. So let me give you a few new numbers. Remember that when we came together last year thinking about GreenTouch and that factor of 1,000, it was really based on a lot of fundamental analysis, modeling in quantum mechanics and physics and network architecture and devices, to think about what's the absolute minimum amount of energy is required to power today's networks. The absolute minimum. And after doing all of that analysis, we found that the network could be a factor of 10,000 times more efficient. And that number led us to the goal of GreenTouch, which is to demonstrate the key technologies, the key ones, that will be necessary to achieve this factor of 1,000 in 5 years. So a year later, it stands to reason, how far are we? Where have we come over this last year? So we've made tremendous progress in 3 areas within GreenTouch. First area is a new number that I want you to remember, 35. 35, actually more, as of today, it's 36 members of GreenTouch. When we met over this last year in the GreenTouch Consortium, we've had 2 face-to-face meetings where all of the members come together. We met early last summer, late last spring, right after GreenTouch was opened its doors to the public. And at that meeting, we had about 30 or 40 people face-to-face, talking about the issues, talking about the research program, where are we going, what are the challenges. Last November, we had our second one in Amsterdam, and over 120 people were there. Membership is growing weekly. And not only do we have the 36 members today, there are more in the pipeline. So functionally, operationally, GreenTouch is real. We have the documents. You can go to the website. You can download them. If you sign them, you become a member. It's not the documents that are important. It's the contributions to GreenTouch. But of course, now that we have a lot of people, a lot of activity, a lot of thinking, these people here, which are the current members, are really kind of focused now into a more rich and deeper research program. So if you take a look at the members, and we were bringing them up before we actually started, you can see some of the largest names in terms of telecom operators, equipment vendors, universities, research labs. And by the way, a lot of them are here today. So if you want to ask questions or something, just look at the name tag and you'll see who's a member, and you can talk to them about their experience inside of GreenTouch. So, first success. GreenTouch is up and operational and is growing, gaining momentum out there. Of course, with all of this, we have now 25 plus research programs going on inside of GreenTouch today. 25. So many, in fact, that we've actually broken up into smaller groups along the lines of wireless, wireline, optics, networking, switching and routing applications. And we're going to talk about the research portfolio in much more depth later on. But I just want to give you a sense of the numbers. So we have this factor of 1,000, which brings us all together. And by the way, after a year having done this, there's always this kind of lingering question, do you still think it's real? Do you still think this factor of 1,000 is achievable, and are we going to make it? And I can say, absolutely we're going to make it. This is really exciting. We've got the members, we've got the research programs, we've got the pipelines. But the third area, which I'm particularly proud of, and what really kind of brought us together today, the third area of success is the collaboration along these 25. So here's just a list of a few of them. I've shown some of the leaders on this list. What we try to do along these research programs is there's a certain activist, someone who really is passionate about it, or an organization that's really passionate about it, and they start to drive the research program and those projects. Rod Tucker will go through these again in more detail as well. But here's another slide in the area of wireline. You're going to see it a lot because it's we're going to see it from kind of a membership perspective. You'll see it from a research perspective. And Claude Monet from Swisscom will actually give you kind of the story around what it means to actually be in one of these projects. And you'll hear from Claude a little bit later. But, in the area of wireline, there's lots of moving pieces, lots of elements in there. And here are some of the people and the organizations that are associated with this program and how it kind of fits together to give you a sense of the person and the structure of GreenTouch. So, in conclusion, GreenTouch has made tremendous progress in these three areas. It is now a working, growing, dynamic organization. Secondly, it now has a very strong research portfolio and research funnel with a lot of activity. So we've come from the upper left here, the numbers, the equations, the models and whatnot, through the membership organization. And I showed here actually just one of the pictures of our recent face-to-face meeting. These are very, very active and engaging sessions where scientists and engineers come together, discuss the problems, discuss the issues, propose solutions, debate them. Some of these meetings go on past midnight. These are not exotic cruises in faraway locations. These are real working meetings. And then in the lower right-hand corner, I show the third area of progress. GreenTouch is supposed to demonstrate these key technologies. Demonstrate is the key word. And today, we're going to announce our first technical demonstration. And I give a little hint over there in the lower right of what that technical demonstrator is, and you're going to hear about a lot more about that demonstrator from Greg Wright and others who are participating in that. By the way, we also, as a result of this large portfolio, and Rod will go into it a little bit more, there's the scientists and engineers. Some of the members are here, along with some of the posters in the back, so feel free to dig into that as well. So thank you, and with that, I'll give it back to Hugh.
Thank you very much.